What's up, my tokers, jokers, and smokers? It's Rodney here. Yo, I just want to do a little shout out to all y'all. I love you. Love you all. Without, y'all, I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing, so let's make sure we continue that love. That being said, everybody knows that I edit my videos, I pre-record my shit. I try to give you guys the best show that I possibly can, with what everybody, behind the Daily Chronicles got going on. Mad shout out to a lot of people that have been on the show, people that are coming on the show. Love it all. That being said, I want to apologize for last week's episode. I feel like that was kind of on me, but not really. I don't know what happened, but here's what happened. So, we're going to bring it in for a second and say that content creation is crazy. Let's just admit that. Secondly, when I pre-record my episodes, I master everything. I go through, I mess with the audio, I look at the video, I'm pushing the boundaries. I'm learning, y'all. Let's face it, okay? And I'm taking accountability for that. I'm taking accountability for learning. That's my bad. But at the same time, I would like to point out that I don't know what happened, so maybe y'all can help me. We'll see. So here's what happened. What had happened. So somewhere after editing the video and then uploading it on Friday, 7 o'clock, stay tuned, the file corrupted. And for some reason, it played through about halfway, maybe almost halfway, and then just keep starting over. It did that twice. And finally, I just shut it down, was like, this is redundant, But, shout out to Vivid Farms and Tyler Dutcher. I told y'all I'd bring it back. I'm a man of my word, if anything but, else. And honestly, I didn't do it justice. I didn't feel that I, did it, justice with the fans and whatnot. So, real talk, this is for y'all. This is a redo, a remix, a rewind, if you will. But, like I said, to Vivid Farms and Tyler Dutcher, the whole message was worth hearing. I don't feel like anybody got to really hear the good kind of conversation and everything that happened. So, here it is, y'all, the non-messed up version of Tyler Dutcher in the interview with Vivid Farms, what it's about. Let's find out about caregivers and whatnot, y'all. All right, well, my tokers, jokers, and smokers, here it is, the episode. Let's get to it. Love you guys.
Question me about my thing, just do your thing and be cool. Cause I know exam, don't worry about it, homie, do you. Cause I've been rapping for a minute now. I'm living now, I'm just being myself. And evidently people with a different sound. So don't question me about my thing, just do your thing and be cool. Cause I know exactly who I am, don't worry about it, homie, do you. Cause I've been rapping for a minute now. Used to walk around dead, but I'm living now. I'm just being myself. And evidently people gon' hate when you coming with a different sound. They say, maybe you should do it like this. Question me about my...
What's up, my tokers, jokers, and smokers? It's your boy Rodney here with my man Tyler Dutcher. Tyler, welcome to the show, my dude.
What's up?
What's up? Tyler, you're with Vivid Farms, yeah?
Yeah.
Vivid Farms, popping off, man. I remember I ran into you guys at the Caregivers rally last year. We were kind of, showing them what's what at the Capitol, if you will.
Defending our caregiver rights, man.
Oh, you know it. Put us on the map to begin with, but we was talking about Vivid Farms. Now, I look left, I see Vivid Farms. I look right, Vivid Farms. You're everywhere. Tell me what Vivid Farms is all about.
Yeah, bro. We're a bunch of caregivers, dude. We came from the caregiver industry, even pre-caregiver industry. And we started with a Central Michigan Cancer Project. We were donating, RSO across the nation to cancer patients in need. And it was time for us to take it to the next level, And right now we are dropping hazmat, gelato 33, and we're about to cut down some LA Kush cake, and a duct tape room, which is super, super fire. The nose on that is amazing. But yeah, I mean, we're rocking it, dude. We started January 12th. Is when our license became active, and I think I think the 13th, we had plants that we moved in. So since then, it's just been go, 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 go. We're a family company. everything that we have here, we built with our own hands. We swung every single nail that you see in here, you know. On top of that, you know, we're all crowd funded, so everything's local, Michigan. We're not some multi-state operator. There's nobody that owns over 30% of the company. You know, we keep it real fair and real, you know, in the company. And one thing that we take pride in is, you know, we don't hide any tech here. We don't hide what we're doing. We're wide open. I usually go live once a week from the farm on our Instagram and stuff. And, you know, we're very open and transparent with our processes, with how we cultivate. You know, my grandma and grandpa trim our cannabis. Everything's hand trimmed here. It's, you know, he's 75. My grandma's
Family
like 72.
owned, operated. It sounds like, yeah.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, everything's family from the bottom to the top, dude. So,
you know, and so obviously, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, but I could assert from that cannabis means a lot to you and your family.
oh yeah. My grandpa. I mean, we have a YouTube series too on our YouTube, Vivid Farms. It's called Patience Over Profits, and it really, you know, it brings to light what our missions and what our goals are, in and outside of this industry. And you know, my grandpa, I started growing cannabis for him. I moved out to California as a young man, fresh out of high school, and they're about a decade ahead of us in the cannabis industry, and medical and everything was very prominent out there. And I seen what it could do. I had some friends that their families were benefiting from cannabis, and I brought that knowledge I had back to Michigan. And you know, my grandpa was on 16 different pills a day. He was on, you know, 6,000 milligrams of hydrocodone, which is Vicodin, a day, you know. And when we started him on a cannabis therapy, we got him down to only 3 pills. He took a pill for his gout. He took a pill for his water pill. And then he just took an aspirin, you know, and a lot of his problems were coming from other pills and medications and stuff that he was taking.
Complications of, yeah.
Yeah. And then, you know, while we were medicating my grandpa, he completely got rid of type 2 diabetes. So he did, like, the RSO that we were creating for him.
Amazing, dude.
It's so crazy, right? So that was the first instance that we had seen that, okay, your body's starting to regulate your insulin properly, and you know, this is working for him. Well, then you know, I started my grow store because I wanted to make an organic soil. I wanted to make sure that my grandpa's medicine was being produced in the cleanest and healthiest way possible. And I made the soil. All my friends that were growing were like, man, you got to sell that. So I opened a grow store, Connoisseur Organics. Right. Yeah, you know, so I tried to sell it, you know, and, you know, started my dream there. And that's where I met the Michigan Cannabis Cancer Project with John and Peanut Butter. And you know, they changed my life forever. They made me really see the benefits of cannabis and what it could do to the effects of chemotherapy and, you know, to cancer itself. And, you know, over the past decade, you know, we've seen cannabis help cancer patients immensely, you know. And what it means to me is it means a sense of freedom, you know, from the chains and shackles that we're held into in this pharmaceutical jail that everyone and every single human being is kind of held into. And, you know, it means, you know, freedom away from a lot of different aspects that we're tied to in life, you know. And it means health, you know. I mean, we've had some of the patients that we've had, they went from very, very, very sad stories to, you know, to so far happy endings. And, you know, that's something I don't think there's really much of out there right now that we can grow in our backyard that can give that same satisfaction, you know, to people. So
at that type of scale, because, you know, I feel that, okay, so let's talk about caregivers. Okay, so let's caregivers being the first word I want to kind of put on the board here. Palliative care, for those who are familiar with it, it's your end of the life process, or you know, hospice of some sort. Or it's never if you're on palliative care,
it's probably not good. Let's just assume that at the very least, okay? Instead of trying to, mansplain it or whatever have you now. It's probably not a good thing to have to, deal with, to get hospice or something of the nature. So people that get, these diagnoses with cancer, bad diabetes, things of this nature. Nature. Cannabis fucking comes from nature. Like, this plant, it's you can grow it from a seed, yo. It's like I was talking, a little bit of shit about these cannabis chefs that are popping up. No. You are a chef that cooks with cannabis. It's just another ingredient. There's some side effects with this. Just another fucking ingredient. There's steps to it, but you can't just niche yourself to cannabis chef, because that just means you're a chef that can cook with one ingredient. That's it. That's not what a chef is. A chef should be able to cook with all ingredients. Let's think about that. Now, moving on. There are more people out there that need said palliative care, that need, said, care for whatever ailments, whatever diagnoses and things of that nature. There's more people out there than there are caregivers. That's what people are understanding. Okay. So
yeah, I mean, specifically because most of the patients that need cannabis don't know that they need cannabis right now. Correct. And that's because of this image that we've, had built of it. And a lot of people are scared to take it. Like my aunt, for instance, I'm not going to say her name, but my aunt was one of the highest up nurses in the state of Michigan. And she developed cancer. And I reached out to the nursing foundation here in Michigan and asked, like, is there any, type of leeway as far as like using cannabis therapy? She's one of your own. Like, I have research, from Israel. I could show you. It's just not in your medical scope, and there was a hard no. It was a hard no. She would lose her license. She would lose her retirement. She would lose. So now you have this out here and the ability to do it, right? But people have to say no because of their job or because of their career or because of what they think somebody's going to think of them, and that's where the real issue is until we, can make people understand that this is a viable treatment for you, right? That's when we'll be able to see the majority of the patients swing in. There's so many patients that are unrealized patients that the number of patients to caregivers right now is not even an accurate reflection of what the actual patients that are here in the state of Michigan,
It suffice to say, cannabis means a lot, to a people. Whether you're using it for recreational uses or for medical uses, it helps, period. And that's just part of the stigma that we have to erase. There are a great deal of people, even now in the cannabis industry, the arena, whatever you want to call it, that do not partake. And that's fine, okay? Whether you're a bud tender that just really knows and just really prefers edibles, but no, there's different variations. I know some people that, they make edibles for said companies, not necessarily like on the corporate level, but they make edibles, but they don't smoke. They can cook with it. You know what I'm saying? So you don't have to in that case. But what I'm saying is this. Everybody should at least know about, be educated on, and have a better respect for cannabis.
Yeah. If you're a bud tender, you need to smoke cannabis. You need to try almost every product that you can, within the brand that you're selling or the company that you're selling for. And it's not just to benefit the sales of the company, but it's to benefit the feeling that the end user gets with the product that they're using. We don't want people to be unsatisfied when they're buying our products. If my product isn't the product for them, I hope that you point them to the product that is a product for them, so they come back in and know what they need instead of getting pushed away from cannabis altogether.
Or scared.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people are scared. A lot of people are, and then that's when these big, corporations with their fancy little acronyms put out these marketing campaigns because they can afford them, and they're aimed at these specific niches who aren't educated in cannabis. For example, the elderly, the people that are just coming into CBD, these people that have aches and pains, they're retired. They don't have to worry about a drug test. They just don't want to be in pain, or they want something that passes the time or whatever they're trying to heal. There's a reason. Okay. At the same time, that was the exact generation that basically, demonized the plant. You know what I mean? That was the whole, if you remember correctly, the war against drugs generation, and stuff like that. Like, that's when that shit like really got bad. I literally started rewatching on YouTube some old like Saturday morning cartoons because let's face it, I missed a few. And I love when the commercials will back and be like, oh, I had that toy. Oh, that was annoying as shit. And these things are very nostalgic. Even more so the weed campaigns. Just weed. There's a few that say teen drinking, and you've seen those come on a little bit later. But in the early 90s, the only thing they really gave a shit about wasn't cigarettes, which we know were terrible. No, it was weed. 100% just weed. And I'm like, are you kidding?
We had DARE programs. And,
and so it was like, the amount of money y'all put into hating on this, just flip that and put into education. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah, exactly. I mean, 1%, like our community, our business plan has always been built around community. And when there was a couple different places we were looking, Wynn is a very small community that's around here. We ended up in the village of Barreton. But there's a total of like 330 residents maybe in this whole village. But
when can you miss it? You know what I mean?
Yeah, you know, but we started this with a 1% donation that goes directly to the village for a youth prevention program. And that's not because I think we need to spend a bunch of money to prevent kids from smoking pot. What I think it is, and what the money is intended for, is to create safe places for kids outside of school, right?
Okay.
So youth prevention, it's not just with cannabis, it's with any substance or anything, right? At this point, you do that shit if you don't have nothing else to do. You know, we're trying to put a skate park in the village of Barreton right now, based off of our donations that we have going to the village. And you know, there's a lot of liabilities with insurance and stuff we still have to work out. But you know, like that summer school, you know, or summer camps, activities, activity center, you know, things for kids to do outside of school is so important for youth prevention. And instead of spending a commercial that is going on their Saturday morning cartoon, you know, put a basketball court in their local community with, you know, somebody, a camera on it, you know, that just makes sure that nobody's being assaulted, you know, and people could be prosecuted if that happens. And you know, like that's where our goal is. Our goal is to not just make, you know, a huge wave here in the cannabis industry, but to also make a wave in these communities to, you know, see what else we can do. I mean, just the taxes alone last year per dispensary, it was like $54,000 per dispensary, or $52,000 or something like that. That's amazing. You know, if there's a dispensary license tied up right now here in the village, and if that was, you know, available, that's 3 times what the whole village budget is a year just in one dispensary. You know, so I mean, like there's a lot of good that could come from this as long as it's all directed in the right direction, you know.
You know, I want to go back to something you were talking about earlier, the series that you have on YouTube. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, it's patience over profit. So, you know, we taught a lot of people how to grow for the first time when you're allowed to grow 12 plants for yourself. And we use that as an ability to help a lot of these patients that we had, because it came to a point where we couldn't produce enough cannabis for the amount of patients we were getting.
Right.
And we ended up creating, you know, how can we teach people how to grow and also show people that they're helping people when they're doing it. So we filmed local gardens across central Michigan I had a consulting firm that I consulted for every single garden. They average, you know, 2 to 5 pounds of plant outdoors on every single plant. And it circles around to the oil that you need, you know, to help you. So it's really cool. Like if you're a grower, to see how, you know, we did it. We break it down segment by segment and garden by garden. So if we're using a certain type of irrigation system in a garden, we explain that. And if we're using a different type of fertilizer in a garden, we explain that too. So you can see the relative changes from garden to garden based off of the differences that they're using. So it's pretty sweet. And at the end of it, which is really cool, it's kind of like the frosting on the cake, was a harvest festival. And that was an event that we threw as a cancer benefit. And all of the money went to the Central Michigan Cancer Project for producing this oil for cancer patients across the nation. And it's amazing. It goes over all of the speakers we had there, from cancer survivors to Keith Olson, about being imprisoned and people being raided, and caregivers losing their homes across the state, and a lot of the music, Central Michigan art too. So a lot of music and a lot of cool artists that it really showcases too. So check it out.
Yeah, no, patience over profit on YouTube, y'all. I'll put a little like magical patience over profit thing here, So, I like seeing things like that. It shows that nothing in life is truly linear. There's a lot of deviations that can happen, and contrary to what we might see on Disney Channel, and these things work out, man. I feel like there's more than one way to heal. And quite honestly, being a cannabis, a patient myself and user, I can tell you that the side effects, I don't mind the side effects of cannabis. Sometimes it's cinnamon toast crunch, sometimes it's scadios, sometimes it's flaming out. That's whatever I feel like grabbing. I have options, but I don't like the side effects of Oxycontin. I don't like the side effects of drinking. I don't like the side effects of even aspirin. Some of these, okay, what was side effects might include death. What? And you're saying that on a commercial?
There's a good story about that actually too. Is in episode 3, you get to meet my grandpa. He means more to me than anything in the world. And he goes over and explains what happened to him. And he was misprescribed some medicine that directly contradicted another medicine that he was taking. Okay. And it caused him to get tardive dyskinesia, which it's basically the involuntary movement of your mouth. You're constantly swallowing, your tongue's constantly going around, you're moving your mouth all the time, So outside of being just like me and you right here, it causes that. And, it causes you to lose weight, it causes you not be able to eat. They call it the suicide disease, because it basically drives a person so insane that they don't want to live anymore, and cannabis has helped my grandpa be able to have a normal life and enjoy life again, outside of getting him off of his pills, outside of curing his type 2 diabetes, which what I was going to about that is it's happened with every cancer patient we've had with type 2 diabetes. But on top of curing his type 2 diabetes, it allows him to enjoy life in a way that he would have never found available from antidepressants and pharmaceutical medicine. So there's crazy aspects about cannabis that they do outside of just the medical benefit. You look at life through a different lens.
Oh yeah, it's the truth. I'm not going to try and sell you anything at this point. I mean, anyone watching this, it's the absolute truth. Whether you smoke weed or not, whether you like cannabis or not, I don't really care. You know what I'm saying? What I do care about is this. Do you like helping people? Yes or no? Period. I'm not trying to guilt trip, and it's a simple fucking question. If yes, then let them use cannabis. Yeah. I mean, worst case, they're going to die anyway,
at all costs.
Right. You know what I mean? Like, let's be real here. Worst case, they're going to die anyway, right? What's the worst that could happen? They die. They've already been told by medical professionals who are shoving pills down their throats, you're going to die anyways. And then a year later, when they go back and they're not on any of the pills, that they don't, like a water pill or like, something, sometimes
they don't believe them.
Right.
Yeah, but they won't be like, oh, I was on cannabis this whole time and I dropped off these. The doctors don't believe it. I had to go into my grandpa's doctor so many times and just like, listen, I have documented proof of everything that's happened. There's nothing you can say, and they tried to take him off of Like at first, when he first tested for cannabis, they tried to take him off all of his pain management. I said, this is illegal. You've created the addiction in this man. He never took these drugs before you've done this. Like just because this isn't in your medical scope doesn't mean I can't put it there. Here's the medical proof.
You can't spell half of those fucking drugs. You know what I mean?
No.
It's a made-up
My
word.
grandpa was on that tetrabenzepine, and it like that's what screwed him up. So.
Oh, and even if there's a recall on the drug, they don't give a shit.
No.
You know, they don't give a shit. You know, they're like, oh, okay, well, then take this. You know, I find it funny that I'm on a diet for my mental health, I do, you know, guided meditation. You know what I'm saying? I write. That's cathartic. You know, I exercise when I'm feeling froggy. I walk the dog, you know, things like that. I do what I gotta do, you know, and constantly moving, constantly doing stuff. That's the positive side of my ADD, if you will, or ADHD. But
Same here.
I also use cannabis for my mental health. I use it for my physical ailments. Bro, I'm not even gonna lie to you. I probably smoke by myself, and this sounds like a lot to me, a QP a month.
Oh, that's probably, I mean, for an average smoker, that's probably,
Right.
For someone seasoned, that's probably, you know, average. But if you just started a couple years ago, then...
No, I mean, I've been smoking most of my life. On and off, you know?
Yeah.
I smoked a hell of a lot more recreationally back in the day, I'll tell you that. I didn't know nothing about no terpenes or nothing. I was just like, yo, this works, you know? But, like, at the same time, I was a drinker, so I didn't really care. You know, smoking weed and medicating, really, has gotten me off of drinking. You know, this is ginger beer, non-alcoholic. It's just fucking good. You know what I mean? Like, I had it. My girlfriend made me a virgin Moscow Mule. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, yo, this is fucking banging. So I don't care if you want to make fun of me. That's fine. You know, mocktails or whatever. Just remember, there might be weed in this shit. That's the truth, you know? I put weed in a lot of shit. I don't medicate with RSO just yet, but I feel that I'm going to get to that point just because my tolerance and whatnot. And that's fine. So I got a lot to go. At the same time, I also do medicate with psilocybin. You know, I'm currently microdosing and want to increase my dose, of course, to a higher dose. But I found that it definitely helps with, you know, I call it the tics. You know, panic attacks. Like, you know, those are real. Those are new to me. Those are within the last 10 years of my life. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? I never had any issues. And I noticed that while I'm smoking weed, don't really have as many panic attacks. You know what I'm saying? I take a couple of pills now that I'm working on getting off. What I'm looking for is a good upper respiratory, you know, kind of like, because I have allergies, like bad, and something is blooming right now that's just straight wreaking havoc on my body. Okay, and so I need something like a good mullein, you know, or something natural that is an upper respiratory kind of just, you know, I need to break up this fucking bullshit phlegm. You know, I don't want to keep taking Benadryl or you know, a breathing pill and this and that. I smoke weed, I'm fine. Explain that to me. You know, and so it's when I get
some essential oils might be help too for you.
This is true. I was told, yeah. I was also told that you can take, and this is very true. You can take mullein, buy it over the, you know, it's an herb, grind it up and put it in your weed and smoke it too.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Anything on the market herbal, you can smoke oregano. So let's say like you sold oregano to somebody back in like high school or some shit to be a fucking dick, but they didn't know any better and they were just, you know, gonna go light a joint. They probably did get high off of it. Not like weed, but I mean, there's terpenes in it. You know what I mean? Well, it's possible, you know?
That's funny.
I don't know if it was worth $35, but it is possible. But, you know, I digress from my criminal underdwellings. But, you know, I want to bring the emphasis of this conversation back to caregivers in Michigan. The caregivers in Michigan I believe, are always going to be under attack now because they set the fucking standard. You know, 2007, 2008 is kind of when we wrote it into law, I believe, for what was it, for medical marijuana in Michigan?
2008.
So, right, 2008. So 2008 till, what was it, 2018, so 10 years. 10 years, the medical program sat untouched. I mean, there's a few things added here and there, but overall, for the 10 years, okay? Then 2020, 2 years later, okay? That's when rec was hitting it and all of that, you know, kind of dispensaries, everything was starting in motion. You know, the train's just starting to chug, and, you know, it's leaving the station. Now, there's these certain companies that came in from out of state, and a few that were born here to begin with, that want to limit what a person can do with smoking where, you know, certain areas, which, okay, don't smoke at a fucking playground, be you know, sensible about this. But I've talked to state reps, and the information they're getting from these statistics is not accurate.
Right. Oh yeah.
At all.
Well, it doesn't fit the narrative, you know.
It doesn't.
Like that, and that's the thing right there, is it doesn't fit the narrative. These companies are worried about caregivers because they have no one else to complain about. You know, like they could be worried about us small farmers, you know, that are in the licensed market, but I have a platform to speak on. I'm not going to let one of those guys speak to me like that without speaking back in the same tone, you know. And the difference is, as a caregiver, they can shout as loud as they want to, but it's nothing to them. It's nothing to the MCMA, and the millions and millions that they're pouring into it to take away your rights, you know. And that's one of our goals here at Vivid Farms too, is to help be a voice for caregivers, you know. And we forever will be on support for caregivers, for home grows, for gifting of cannabis. And you know, I think that what's insane is that the image and the view that these big corporations have, you know, they're scared, and they're weighing out in their head, okay, spend $1 million on trying to take away these rights. It's going to help, you know, what, a few hundred pounds, few thousand pounds going into the market, right?
If that, yeah.
If you know what I'm saying, a few thousand pounds going into the market, and at the end of the day, those people are like, that void is still going to be filled. That just means the price of that's going to go up. If they don't have, you know, if those factory caregiver farms, the ones that they're targeting, not the real caregivers or whatever, if those ones get shut down, a new one's going to pop up right next door. I mean, most of these farms that are getting shut down, that are way big with all these different lights or different flower rooms that are not even licensed. So, I mean, messing with the caregiver market it means nothing to them. You know, it should mean nothing to them. But, you know, I think that we need to keep pushing. You know, I think we need to keep pushing as a community. We need to keep attending these events, and, you know, we need to keep speaking to our reps and telling them to facilitate, you know, the safe access to people, not to patients, not to somebody, just to people. If people need cannabis, people need a way to get it. Whether they have the money to go purchase it from a licensed facility, great.
Or we can get it delivered to them.
Or if somebody's got a caregiver, great. Or if somebody grows their 12 and they got some weed they want to get, you know, to somebody to help them, great. You know, there's nothing's going to mess with our bottom dollar ever. You know, these guys that are in debt, that own these big corporations, they have a lot more to worry about, you know. And I guess who else would you pick on besides someone that can't yell back at you?
You know, I look at it, and I've said this a bunch of times before. There's you know, put a joint side by side, you know, caregiver in one hand and corporate in the other. I'm gonna know even before I smoke it, you know, and that's the truth. They're jealous, man. That's the truth, you know. Like, listen, it's funny because you and I were talking in the green room before this. I said, I don't need, you know, 2.2 million TikTok followers to have a fucking platform. You know, I got a platform same as this. You know, we're trying to teach it. I got very, very lovely people that watch this. Hi, all three of you. The point is, you know, I don't need that. Because all y'all motherfuckers with your acronyms and shit are mad at one person. Think about that. I want you to think about that. Now, that being said, you dump money into your views, you dump money into your followers, you dump money into these fake-ass comments, you dump money into all this marketing, and then you attack the caregivers and all of this bullshit just to hide the fact that at the end of the day, your products suck. Period.
Yeah, they do.
Tastes like fucking
and they
rubber.
do.
That being said, all y'all motherfuckers still mad at one person, okay? that you have a budget, a marketing budget of more money than God, and pretty good connections with everybody. Y'all still mad at one person. So when I stand there and I say, well, what the fuck are you gonna do about it? You're not gonna do anything. That's just it. You're gonna try and take away the rights and shit. But what happens when all of the caregivers in Michigan that, you know, are protecting people that they love, people that need this, palliative care people, what happens when they get defended? You didn't expect that. You know, I have a hard time watching this happen, man. I have a really hard time. That's like going into a nursing home and ripping someone out of a wheelchair and hog tying them. That happens in raids. People will kick in the front door, knock a fucking guy out of his wheelchair, hog tie him, leave him there, arrest him, take all of his medicine, her medicine, their medicine, sorry, and then that's the end of it. Tell me how that's different. That's not. Why would you do that? Why would you do one versus the other? Well, one just wouldn't happen. There's security. Person's in their own house. You know, when they have these arguments, they don't make any sense. You were there that day when Steve Linder, you know, sorry about your job, bud, but you're still there. Don't lie to us. You just stepped down. Man, trust me, that money's too good. Y'all worried about the wrong kind of green here on that side and your acronyms to match. The fact is, when you were sitting there, Steve Linder, I'm talking to you, and I hope you see this. When you were sitting there and you were talking to these people, you know, reps to how to vote and things, and you were giving them your so-called information, everything on that table that you used as a prop, except for cannabis, has killed someone. I want you to know that. You took a table full of dumbass ideas and props that don't even pale in comparison to cannabis. And then you're like, this came from a caregiver. Okay, first and foremost, caregivers would not use stupid plastic bags like that because it doesn't. You would use glass jars, but hey, if you knew anything about weed, you would know that. But let's not talk about that. Even at that, I want to point something out. Look at the corporate side of cannabis. You got all of this waste and left over, like from the single shooters from the joints and shit. You know what I'm saying? To the dab jars from the glass and all this stuff that needs to be recycled. No one's working on a sustainability program or recycling program like that. No, not yet. We should, because it's a lot of waste. Now, if you look at the caregiver
sustainable side, packaging is another thing too that really needs to be focused on. You know, we're going to be, all of our pre-packs that we sell are in Calyx containers, so they are fast. They're biodegradable, but they decompose at a faster rate than most plastics do. The difference is and the difference is not only that, but you know, most traditional packaging loses like 1% moisture over about 18 hours, you know, and we hold our moisture. We lose 1% moisture over 30 days. So like, you know, we're harnessing what our cannabis is like here at our facility when it gets packaged and giving that to a consumer instead of having something packaged 3 months ahead of time, having some salesman out there that's going out there and doing that. You know, packaging is a huge thing. You know, bulk. I was just in a conversation on Facebook the other day about selling bulk and this and that, and I don't have a problem selling bulk. Okay, if the retailer can, you know, come to an understanding with us, you know, as a farm, that our brand is built on the consumer getting the product in the same condition that it leaves our facility in. I don't want to put a pound or two in a bag and have it tossed around in your retail establishment, just like every other big giant bulk farms, bulk products are. You know, we put the small in small batch farming. We have 50 flowering lights in this facility. That's it. You know, I've had more lights as a caregiver than I have in this facility. You know, it's very important for small brands like us to be able to facilitate that same feeling when we pack that away to the customers when they open it up, you know. So, but there's other companies out there that are developing different sustainable packaging too. You know, Paul Rowe, I'm not sure what company he works with, but he's a guy, you know, in the industry that's dealing with, you know, packaging a lot of people's products, but people still choose foil packs because of the price points on it. You know what I mean? Right. they do offer some good sustainable options. But I would say, as a caregiver, there's really not much more sustainable than that. You know what I mean? You're not getting a dab cart that's wrapped in a box, that's wrapped in a plastic foil
You're not paying
pack.
for the packaging, yeah.
You know what I mean?
You're not
So,
paying for anything at that point. It's getting donated to you, but that's what I'm saying.
yeah, right.
I got a couple more questions, man. You know, kind of looking back mentally over everything that we were talking about, cannabis, strictly just in Michigan. I find myself wondering, where is cannabis going to be in 5 years? So I present that question to you. Where do you see cannabis in 5 years in Michigan?
Well, I mean, that's a very opinionated question, but in my opinion, I would say, looking across the nation, looking at Canada, a lot of these big facilities, these big single state operators, are going to be selling out to the multi-state operators, and you're going to have a couple, maybe Loom, maybe somebody else that's going to be sticking around if they choose not to sell out. And then all these other big farms selling out to these multi-state operators. But then what you're going to see is a flourishing market of small batch farms. I mean, Canada created a law specifically enhancing their market for small batch farms. You look around the state of Michigan specifically right now, and yeah, you still see Budweiser, you still see Miller Lite and stuff, but what you're seeing in an increasingly amount is craft beer. 450 North just came into Michigan. They're selling their beers right now like $13 a beer, and that's what society, I feel like, is going to in general, not just in the cannabis industry, but in every industry across the nation. Is we're looking at the smaller places, and we want to, we're being more conscious of where we're spending our money. And if people end up caring about the product that they're consuming, they're not going to want some giant facility that has 30,000 plants in it in their personal jar, because a human maybe have never touched those plants, maybe but one time. In a small facility like ours, you're having human interaction with these plants every single day. You're having one-on-one care and compassion for this plant every single day. And it shows in our products, and it's going to show in every other small batch farms products when they're produced. Is not just, okay, it has great bag appeal, but the compassion and care that went into that product, and people are going to feel better putting hand trimmed small batch farm product in their personal jar. And who cares where the stuff's grown at when it comes to marijuana infused products, right? So that's where I feel like that market's going for the commercial guys. I think they have a bigger place in marijuana infused products, and I think they should pride themselves on creating new products to infuse cannabis with, and they would probably find success in there. These small batch farms aren't going anywhere, and there's a lot of there's a lot of these bigger guys that are like, oh, they're going to push the price per pound down so far that you're not going to be able to make any money. I pay $18,000 a month in overhead. What do you pay, right? I can shut my lights off at any point in time. Every person here is a shareholder. Every person here is a caregiver. We don't lose any money, right? We have no bills to pay. We have no debt. What happens if you shut your lights off? If the price per pound comes down too far, you're cutting your own throat. You're not cutting our throat. So
and
people will always pay for the good product.
I want to stress this to the rest of the people watching, listening. They're collective shareholders, they're collective caregivers. They do a great thing at Vivid Farms, but it's all legal. That's the point. Everything's 100% above board. This is the new generation. This is the new way of business. This is the new industry, the new cannabis industry. That being said, all right, so you told me where Michigan's going to be in 5 years cannabis-wise. Okay, I agree with that. I definitely do. Where do you see Vivid Farms in, let's say, 3?
3 years, we're working to be, rapidly, we're working to be more vertically integrated. If you guys have followed Vivid Farms over the years, you know that we have a lot of great products, infused products, from the Bliss Rub to the infused romance lube. We've had products across the board, and we want to be able to bring that to market, right? So we haven't really released this yet, but under ag cannabis and ag processing, all gas, we're going to open up a 3,000 plant outdoor farm. And everyone's like, oh my God, that's huge. They're going commercial. No, we're not. We're going to take the top 3 buds off of each one of these plants, and we're going to sell them at the cheapest price across the state.
Use the rest for biomass.
Yeah, and the rest is getting turned into biomass to create our products, to be able to bring them to all you guys. So that's where I see us in the next few years. Maybe a small little craft retail establishment, depending on how that goes and the direction that goes.
We'll see.
But yeah, other than that, we're not going to be a big franchise. We're never going to be what you see all these other big farms to be. We're just a family company that wants our place at the table.
And that's just it. Like, being a chef, listen, if you want a place at the table and there isn't a place, we're going to make a new table. Fuck that. Everybody eats.
Oh, yeah.
That's the point. And over the years, I don't want to be, I don't care about being welcome to the table. I already know I'm not welcome at certain tables. That's not the point. I'll eat alone. That's fine, because I know what I bring to the table. At the same time, how come you ain't eating? Oh, you can't cook. Shit. That's my point. A lot of these people, like, they expect a certain level of care. Okay? It's in the fucking name. Caregivers. First word, right there.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's people want to be dawdled on. They want to be taken care of. Okay, well, that's what a caregiver does. That's the point. It's more of less like, it feels as though people attack caregivers in cannabis for a multitude of reasons, but really deep down inside, as money aside, as a person, they feel inadequate. And they're projecting, because then if they admitting the caregivers were right would mean that there's potentially something wrong with them.
They're just worried about money, bro.
Oh, this is like the truth, but I was just trying to take money out of it.
Yeah. But I mean, follow the money trail in any way that you go across the board. Like they just care about money. If they're spending millions on it, they're making millions on it. And you can't ever think that these guys are stupid. They're stupid for trying, right? But every move that they make is calculated, and what they're trying to do, as long as we keep pushing the way that we're pushing, will not succeed, and they're going to end up wasting money. But that at the end of the day, we all have to fight, because if we don't fight against this, money always wins every single time.
Listen, no one's, if you don't think that you can beat them, outlast them. A boxing ring, okay? If you can't land a punch, you got to at least last the 4 rounds. That's what it is. Yeah. If you can outlast that person, you can beat them that way. You understand? That's the point. We're never going away. That's the truth, This is working. There's a boycott list out there that someone invented that's floating around. It's fucking working. If it wasn't working, then they wouldn't be pissed about it.
Mm-hmm.
They wouldn't call it, and I quote, and this is the funniest part, they're calling it an alleged, it's now a meme, apparently, which that's interesting, because most of those people don't even understand what memes are. Going a little bit step further, someone went as far as to say it's considered a hate roster now. Now, this is interesting because I don't know if I would label something like that, a boycott, a hate roster, unless maybe you're pulling an influence from somewhere else. Now, I don't agree with that being said. That's true. You understand? I do agree with, that
we know of, right? That we know of. But at the end of the day, out here that hasn't directly done something to hurt the MCMA, facilitating marketing for the MCMA, which is then spending money, millions of dollars, on these billboards like we just seen at that rally with some baby saying that this baby's got untested cannabis and all this stuff. That is guerrilla marketing. That's terrible stuff. And at the end of the day, I don't support those companies.
Anything less than